Welcome everybody to the 2018 Annual Community Conversation with the Rye-Town Park Commission and the community that enjoys Rye-Town Park in Oakland Beach. I'd like us all to rise, please, for the Pledge of Allegiance. Flag's over there.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll, please. Why are you sitting all the way over there?
I was over here and I couldn't see you all.
Oh.
I would call the roll and Betty wouldn't be there.
Okay.
So, Commissioner Salanitro?
Here.
Commissioner Rosenberg?
Here.
Commissioner Falanka?
Here.
Commissioner Cohn?
Here.
Commissioner Hurd?
Here.
President Zuckerman?
Here, thank you. We're going to do the public comment because that's what this community conversation is all about. We'll do that at the end. I just want to welcome everybody. The commission has been introduced. Debbie Reiser is my chief of staff at the town of Rye and secretary to the commission. Sarah, stand up. Sarah Suma does a lot of the grunt work and getting park stuff done. Bill Lawyer, where are you? Bill is our assistant director in charge of events. I'd like to acknowledge, of course, he's here all the time, more than any of us, Assemblyman Steve Otis. Who else is here? Where's Lawrence? I want to introduce Lawrence Vargas. He is our new park director. And Lawrence, why don't you just say a couple of words, because you're going to be one of the most important people this summer in the park.
All right, just the mic right here. Turn it around. Good morning, everybody. I'm Lawrence, as the new park director. As you just heard, I am usually very talkative when you get to meet me one-on-one, but in these settings, I don't know, I just want to say hi. And when you see me, please come to me with any ideas, concerns you have in the park. For those who have gotten to know me, you will realize I am very open to suggestions. If you have a complaint, the one thing I just recommend is, how can we fix it? Just don't say, this is a terrible park and beach and I hate it, it's the worst thing in the world. How can we make it better? And I am definitely always open to, like I said, new ideas, suggestions. Wednesday, when it was a beautiful day, I was speaking to someone earlier about this. Everybody was on the beach. It was crowded, and everybody was, taking the day off of work, and kids were cutting school to be here. And I realized, that's a person I would be. If I was in an office, I would be cutting off of work and calling out sick that day to be at the beach. But I actually get to work at the beach now, so I don't have to call out, and I got paid to be here on a 90-degree day. And it made me realize how lucky I am. And I am here for the community. I am here for the commissioners. I'm here for my staff. I am just a servant to everybody here. That's my title as director, but I am here for everybody else to make this park the best it can be, to give my staff the best experience, and to live up to the commissioner's expectations of me. It should be a great summer, a great season. I have a lot of ideas and things I think I would like to see in this park. Those might change as I go throughout the season. And there are things you may not see, or changes you may not see this year. There are things that may be going on behind the scenes that subtle improvements. Hopefully next year you'll be able to see the true vision. But like I said, please stop by. I don't have an office right now, but I'm usually walking around the park. And just feel free to, if you want my information, I give you my business card, call me, text me, whatever it is. I am available all hours to help you with anything you may need. So enjoy the rest of this conversation, and I look forward to a great summer. Thank you all.
Thank you, Lawrence. Lawrence has already sent us like a 2-page email with his suggestions that we're done. And I'd also like to introduce Councilwoman Lindsay Jackson of the town of Rye. Well, we're going to talk about the Wagner program in a minute. Anyway, any other officials here that I missed? No? Okay, thank you. The first thing I'd like to do, the concept of the restaurant has been on everybody's mind. And last meeting, I announced that the owners of Three Guys has been chosen as the restaurant concessionaire. And Liam O'Keefe is here as a representative. Liam, you want to say a couple of words? He operates the Barley House currently in Thornwood.
Yes. Good morning, everybody. I'm very happy to be here, and I thank the Commission for choosing us and working with us to make this happen. My partners and I, we own the Barley House in Thornwood, New York. We also have a location, it's more of a patio, in Tarrytown, New York. And we're just really looking forward to providing a vibrant first-class establishment to all of the residents and beachgoers. And hopefully we can get as open as quickly as possible. I'm sure that's one of the questions that's outstanding. And I don't have an exact timeline as of this point, but we're working on it as we speak.
Thank you, Liam. And I'd like to also announce that we are going to have a special meeting Wednesday evening at 6 p.m. in the Rye City Hall, what do you call it? The meeting council chambers to formally approve the contract on Wednesday evening and pass a resolution accordingly. And it will be properly noticed. Debbie will send out the formal meeting notice and agenda sometime today. We need 48 hours notice to pass the resolution. Hopefully the business will be taken care of. You've all read in the papers that there's been a lot of negotiation back and forth. But unless something happens within the next 48 hours, I think we've basically come to a total and complete agreement on all of the terms and conditions. So hopefully we'll be getting going. Does somebody have a question? Question here?
So I'm kind of upset about this because... Could you start with your name? Yeah.
And come to the microphone, please.
So I don't understand why this takes so long.
Can you come to the microphone, please?
Yeah. I don't understand why this is taking so long. I mean, it looks like a giant eyesore. The summer's starting. And, I mean, how did it take all winter to get this done?
The answer sounds simple, and that's because negotiation.
Right, but you guys, we live here. We have to look at this. I mean, if you needed someone to negotiate, there's got to be people who can do that.
You have to understand a couple of things. Number one, a committee chose the people from Barley House late last fall, after an extensive process. I'm explaining this for the public, not just you, but for everybody, and any of the other commissioners can comment as well. We had a new administration in Rye that took office only in January, and they had to become familiar with everything going on. They had a contentious election, and they came in fresh and new, and frankly, they had to acclimate themselves. They had ideas. We didn't have a draft ready until after the election, and the city came in with ideas.
Okay.
Some of them, I'm just explaining for the public.
But
some
in the
of them,
short term, somebody has to do something.
May I?
Look at that.
May I finish? There were negotiations. Some of the things the restaurateur could not accept and eventually did accept. Some of the things we compromised on. We have a commission made up of representatives from actually 4 separate communities, and we have to come to an agreement, and now we have. We all did the best we can for what we thought was both best for the park and best for our individual communities. We are all together now, and Liam will be starting work as soon as possible. Yes, I agree, it is an eyesore. But this is a potential 20-year agreement. 10 years with 2 5-year options if the restaurateur complies with all the terms and conditions of the agreement. It is more important for this park to have the right restaurant with the right terms than to have it open quickly. We want it quickly, yes, and he's going to do the best he can to be quickly about it. But we need to do it right, and that's why. I apologize to you and the entire community if it took longer than everybody wanted it to take. Sometimes these things take their course, and hopefully now we're there.
Right, but still, there couldn't be a short-term and a long-term plan. Could they have at least said, hey, let's get the place painted? I mean, how long? It could take months for them to even get the place, the damage fixed from putting the wood up there. I mean, who knows how long this could take?
We don't, and he does. So you know, we're not contractors. We have the agreement in place, and it will be up to him to make it work now.
Well, I think that for the record, I think it's strange that it took this long. I think it looks horrible, and I don't understand how this is all okay. I mean, I understand you have some 20-year vision, which I think is never going to happen either. Like, to hope that something for 20 years is going to work out with that little space seems really lofty to me.
I tell you, I can't look into the future. We're doing what we think is best for the park.
Right.
Do any of the other commissioners want to comment on that? Thank you for your comment. Okay. Let me go on. The restaurant, as I say, we're going to have a special meeting Wednesday night, hopefully to formally approve the agreement. Capital projects. We're moving forward with the seawall, which has been dragging since, 2012. Yesterday we got some very good news. The permit has been approved by the Army Corps of Engineers. We're still waiting for DEC to approve it and waiting final approval of FEMA. The project will be funded 90% by FEMA, and we're really hoping that the timeline for that will be that we'll have all the approvals by early spring. We cannot go into construction because, as Bill knows, Bill Lawyer, what do we have out there?
The shorebirds.
The shorebirds, the nesting terns.
And oyster catchers too.
And right, so we cannot do construction during the early part of the summer, but hopefully right after that, the documents I'm hoping will be bid and we can get into construction. Other things that we're working on, we're going to be hopefully applying.
Talk about the seawall.
Pardon me?
Could you pause there for a second about the
Sure.
seawall?
You have a comment?
Sure.
Come up.
Steve, okay.
I got Steve. What's Steve?
Vasco.
F-A-S?
No, V like Victor.
Thank you.
Could we at least, in the meantime, clean it up a little bit? There's debris from the fences that have been thrown there. They're in the sand. It's been an eyesore for 6 years. It's inexcusable. And not to go on a further thing, but I do think, and I'm sorry, I didn't catch her name, but I did think she was right in some respects about the short term. A lot of times these projects they're just looked at in such a big way when incremental change can make a huge difference. And you know, the fences go up and they just sit there, they lean over, they sit there. You need to kind of have a look at it. I'm happy that we have a new park director, and maybe that could be part of the vision that we have ongoing, so that we don't always just wait for the 7-year project to get done, and that we actually make it look decent while we're waiting for other things to happen. I do understand there's a lot of complexities dealing with FEMA and everything else, but there's no excuse to have the fence laying over half in the sand and garbage collecting over there and all the other stuff that happens.
You're absolutely right, and the park director heard you, and I'm sure we'll take care of it.
Great, thank you.
Thank you very much. Some of the other capital projects we're looking at, we're hoping to get both a CFA application, that's consolidated funding application, to do work, especially on the bathhouse, and we're working with Lisa Easton, the park architect, on that. And we're also, I have a meeting with the County of Westchester Planning Department on Monday to go over the new CDBG application, Community Development Block Grant process. The county is once again forming what they call an urban county consortium, so that Westchester County gets its own allocation of community development funds. For the last 2 years, we've had to get to be lumped in with the entire state of New York. The county will be getting its own allocation, and we're going to apply, hopefully through them, to get funding to once again go back to the question of our handicap accessible ramps. Our ramps to the beach are not handicap accessible, and we're hoping to get funding through the Community Development Block Grant Program to redo them, to make them handicap accessible. I'm trying to think what other capital projects. Those are the main capital projects we have online, except for our technology. At the last commission meeting, we passed a resolution, and we are upgrading the technology, the access, not so much for the public, but for our staff to be able to connect computers for permitting, for beach passes, for parking. All of that has not been upgraded in many years. It was put together with, as they say, spit and chewing gum, and is basically in danger of total failure. And in fact, I believe that is where we are. But we are upgrading, and hopefully by Memorial Day, we will have a new upgraded system in operation for all the park users now and in the future. One other thing I wanted to raise, I want to ask Debbie to talk about.
Question.
Yes, go ahead. Where?
One question
Yes.
about capital improvements. Katie Kersey. Hi. Are there any plans to fix the stairs here that seem to be crumbling, and I'm afraid could potentially be a liability for the park if somebody gets injured?
We have repeatedly repaired the stairs. I think that's a good idea to put on our capital program for the commission to discuss. That kind of goes in hand with the access as well. Ultimately, personally, even though we need to improve the beach access, that whole staircase over at the south end is in horrible condition, and the ramp is certainly not a handicap accessible ramp to the parking lot either. We can get away with that because to the middle gate is handicap accessible, but it's still obviously an eyesore, and it is dangerous. I think for this year we're going to have to do substantial fixing. Repairing a staircase of that size is very expensive. We have to locate the funds for it. But you point out a problem very, very correctly. Absolutely, that has to be repaired.
Excuse me, Russ Gold. To Katie's point, is that really a capital expense, or is it repairs and maintenance? Because I think, in my opinion, these small projects, things with the fascia, on the risers and stuff where those are starts up. It's really repairs and maintenance, so it should be an ongoing process.
You are absolutely correct. You're absolutely.
Repairs and maintenance are in the budget, not a capital.
No, those will be done. That's not a question that will be done. The ultimate solution, though, because if the structure of the stairs, and we'll need to have our engineer look at that, if the structure of the stairs is improper, for example, it's falling apart, then we're going to need to redo them, and that is a capital expenditure.
Understood.
Okay, we will look into that.
But if you go around the park and like in front of the main center entry booths and stuff, the concrete's all broken up and stuff, just from wear and tear.
Right.
That's, again, repairs and maintenance.
Well, up to a certain, it's hard to delineate where repairs end and capital begins. If you replace 20 feet of concrete, that's a capital expense. If you're throwing blacktop or concrete because the sidewalk has raised and you want to eliminate the tripping hazard, that is a repair.
Right. Filling potholes versus repaving.
Absolutely. Thank you, Russ. Appreciate it. Debbie?
I just have something to say about the stairs. The staff come on in the first week of April. This time last year, they were repairing the stairs, and over the winter, the stairs once again developed potholes and need repair once again. So those repairs absolutely are part of maintenance and part of what the park staff does. So that is definitely in process. The question is, why is this continually happening, and do we need to look at a larger solution to the stair problem? I'm sort of repeating what Gary just said, but adding that, yes, we have been repairing the stairs.
And I don't mean to put you on the spot, maybe you're not the right person, Debbie, maybe it's Lawrence, but maybe it would be helpful for people to understand what the staff has to do to get the park open and what they have been doing since the beginning of April, because now we're a month in. Right. So maybe that would be helpful.
That's a standard part of our management report that's submitted every month.
Okay. Yeah, can we go over some of that?
We don't get that. Can you just kind of go over a little bit? It's interesting.
Or maybe we'll...
Or no.
Do you want that now?
Yes. Just give a brief overview of what the park staff does from March. And by the way, all of this is, if you're interested in looking at the management report, it's all online. If you go into the town of Rye and then you click on, the parks, and it'll have a whole section on Rye Town Park. All the minutes, which contains a management report. Everything is all there. And you're always free to email us and ask us questions.
Does that include the budget and finances?
Yes.
So when the staff comes in, they start working the first week of April. And start opening up the rooms again, identifying where there have been leaks. Sal Valiente, who I'm sure many of you will recognize, and Hippolito Cancel, start off that first week of April coming in. This year we started off with an enormous mold remediation program that was approved last winter. And could not be started until the spring. The intention was that mold remediation would start in February, but due to our parade of nor'easters, the work couldn't get started until March.
By the way, which is why our park director doesn't have an office right now. It was just remediated.
So, just so you know, the mold is gone, the asbestos is gone, the walls are gone, and slowly but surely the park staff is now rebuilding those. We reestablished the electrical lights within the offices. On a grounds perspective, I'd love to hear from Sal. He'll tell you all the things, but they're getting the chairs together, they're getting the water started again, they're getting the bathrooms started again, getting the water flowing to them, getting the repairs done, and the beach rake was overhauled, and they've been on the sand cleaning up the garbage and
What's happening with the sand?
This year we are not, we have replaced sand we're not replacing it, we've added sand for the last 2 years. This year we are not adding sand. We are going to be leveling the beach as we can bring in heavy equipment over the next month to smooth out and make it easier to maneuver. At the moment, it's the sand is so soft that our equipment is actually getting stuck in it, so it has to be resurfaced. We'll be doing that section by section.
Are we getting help from anybody else?
Yes, we are.
And who is that?
Westchester County has graciously offered to give us assistance with the north end of the beach in a shared services arrangement. So they brought their equipment in through our ramps, and they're leveling their beach, and they'll be giving us a hand with that end. The village of Mamaroneck will be coming over to help us level as well after our crew starts to finish off. They helped us last year. It was huge.
Thank you. Now, while you're there, talk about Capstone and your discussions with Helen.
Yes. I have, as many of you will remember, 2 years ago, we applied to NYU Wagner Graduate School of Public Service for a capstone team of urban planning graduate students. And the capstone program assigns a team of graduate students to be consultants for a year. So they start work in October, they complete their work in April, and they will produce a study. And in this case, I'm actually holding a copy of the study, which was labeled Stewarding a Public Gem, a Roadmap for the Future of Rydtown Park and Oakland Beach. And what the group did was spend a year reaching out to the array of stakeholders of Rydtown Park and understanding how they use the park, how they would like to use the park, what they see for the future of the park. And they produced an incredible study. And by the way, they had phenomenal participation from our community. And this was both statistical data collection and also qualitative data collection with community forums and interviews and an extensive survey, and we had enormous participation. So it was a great data sample. And they produced a report with a series of recommendations. One of the recommendations, several of the recommendations we started to do because they were very fast. We could get those done, and we sort of worked our way through those recommendations. But there are bigger recommendations that need more work. And what Helen Gates and I are now working on is an application to the NYU Capstone program again to get, hopefully, a team that will now take us to the next step. Of the recommendations, the very first one is to define a vision for the park. And what they identified is that the goals and strategies for Rydtown Park range from practical and short-term to aspirational and long-term. It's those aspirational and long-term goals that we want to start to move on. And since its inception as a park in 1907, Rydtown Park has never undergone a visioning process. The stakeholder engagement during the study revealed that some users have a different vision in mind than others, while those people making decisions about the park may have an entirely different idea for the park altogether. To ensure that funding, maintenance, and other decisions remain consistent, the first goal is to develop a long-term vision and mission for the park. And then the strategies within that are to assemble a task force of elected officials, commissioners, civic leaders, business owners, and park users to conduct an extended study and to come up and articulate specifically what that vision is, what that mission is. And once we have that, to develop a strategic plan that will make that a reality, to increase and sustain community engagement. Thank you all for being here. and to create a roadmap for a Rye-Town Park Conservancy, which will take a long view in terms of investing in the structures and the beautiful landscapes of this park and be a partner to the commission. So that's what we're working on now.
Thank you. I'd like to ask if any of the commissioners would like to speak at this time, then we'll take additional comments from members of the public on any item.
I'd like to say, as a newcomer to the commission representing the city of Rye, that we recognize what a wonderful asset the park and the beach collectively are to both the city and to surrounding communities. And really the best part of the park are the people that love the park. And so it's wonderful to see so many of you here today. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. And also I'd like to introduce Tom Nardi, Rye-Town Councilman, who came here. Thanks for coming, Tom. Does anybody else have anything they want to say about anything? How you love the park, what we can improve? This is your meeting. This is all about you.
Yeah, hi, Julian Rapid. Just a question, if there are events or functions that everyone can enjoy that would be a good idea to hold in the park, what's the correct avenue for proposing that?
The avenue to propose them is simply to call our office, especially Debbie, or to talk to Bill Lawyer, who is our assistant director and handles a lot of events. Are you talking about private events or something of a public nature?
Public.
Yeah, and
I'm sorry, and of course the park director. He's probably the first one to talk to.
And thanks for raising that. In the past few years, we have seen, and with Sarah Suma's help as well, a number of really successful, exciting events. There was a pumpkin event last year that, who organized that? Was that the Friends or was that? It was Sarah. Okay, so I'm sorry, Sarah. I knew she was the woman behind it, but I wasn't sure who was taking official credit for it. So, but that was really well run and a great turnout. There was supposed to be a holiday Christmas tree lighting event that ended up not working out, but that had a lot of excitement. So I think these are a great way to bring people to the park. And so any ideas that you have, I encourage you. I mean, I know you and your wife, so you can also reach out to me, and I'm happy to put you in touch with the right people. But they do have an awesome list of events, and maybe we could have Bill Lawyer if nobody else has anything to say, or it looks like there are other people, but just talk about some of the events that are going on this summer.
Go ahead.
Okay, we have...
There's a back there.
Oh, sorry.
Thanks, and let me say that, we've been developing projects for the many years that I've been involved. Some are ones we do every year, some that we have once or twice, and then wait till we have more interest in it again. So, it's just because something didn't work at one point doesn't mean we shouldn't try it again, or at least think about it. So, basically, where we are now in thinking of our summer is starting, the first event we're having is a concert, one of 6. It's a Twilight Tuesdays held here in the pavilions, and it's all different variations of pop music, music you can sing along to, music you can dance to, music that you can just listen as background music while you're having a picnic on the grass. So it's designed as a way to bring people together. In the twilight, concert starts at 7:30, but you can start picnicking at 6, and at some point when the restaurant is open, people will probably be able to go there and get takeout and bring it over here, which is what we've done in past years. So we're always looking for new bands. We have some that are real favorites that have their own following, so I can't say for sure whether we will do that. One of the ways that we support these free events is by getting community groups to contribute towards sponsorships. So, for example, one of the big sponsors has been Atria Senior Living, which is out in Rye Brook, and they come down with a bus for the Shakespeare, and that's been a great support. We've had other sponsors for other sponsors. And the Women's Imaging Center, which is also in Rye Brook, is a sponsor of our outdoor movie, and the outdoor movie is going to be in the second Thursday in July. Weather permitting, it'll be Thursday night. The movie starts around 8:30 when it gets dark, and it's on the lawn over at the north end. And so this is something that the Friends had started years ago, and it's always risky because of the weather, but it's when the weather's good, you can't beat it. There's a big popcorn, and people can bring things to drink or whatever, have picnics. So that's the Shakespeare. And let's see, what else do we have here? Oh, well, one of the things that we do, thanks to the Rye Free Reading Room, is we have children's storytime programs, actually right here in this pavilion. And these are open to anybody, whether you live in Rye or wherever you might live. They're 9:30 in the morning on Tuesdays, starting right after the 4th of July. And so we have those coming up then. And there will be, in fact, we're just putting together our media releases. We're going to be putting out flyers, posters, sending things out to all the media, talking about what events we'll be having and when they're going to be having. And Sarah is putting them on the website for the Rye Town Park. And I guess if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
There's a ladybug release, is that right?
Yeah, that's being done by, I think, the Friends of Rye Town Park, and it's going to be, is it the 20, who knows? Nobody.
Late May.
Stay tuned. We will be doing a ladybug release, and in fact, if you don't know what that involves, ladybugs are one of the things. If you have roses, that they get attacked by aphids. So rather than using sprays and stuff like that, you get ladybugs, and they eat those larvae. So it basically is nature's way of managing the ecosystem. So it's something that the Friends of Rye Town Park did for many years. And I guess that's enough for that. Any other questions? Anybody?
Thank you, Bill.
Thanks, Bill.
I actually have one event that's...
The Rye Town and Rye City Sustainability Committees will be co-sponsoring an event here in the pavilion on Saturday, June 16th. From 10 until noon with the Worm Lady, who will be here showing us about composting and the wonderful things that worms can do and how much fun they are to play with, and helping people plant their own edible gardens.
Immediately followed by Rye Brook Day at Crawford Park. Anybody else? Come.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yes, I'd like to go back to Capstone project. I was involved with the handicap issues, not the only person, asked to write a letter that would go to the state or somebody, and like a two-day chance to get everything ready and bring it to Debbie. And I did write a letter, I did bring it in, and I can tell you for the people who are handicapped or partly handicapped or just can't get on the beach, we never heard a thing. So I really think the whole setup with the handicapped or the partially handicapped or people that have very young children can't get on the beach, the law is that they must have access. There must be access to the sand, and I understand the water too. Many beaches have taken care of this, but Rye Town Park seems to have a whole lot of things that they would like to do. But for the citizens that are handicapped, it's just nothing. So I don't know how to get it done. I think it would be nice if people in wheelchairs and that can't get places would have the access that they legally should have. And I, as a citizen, would like to know what's going on.
I happen to agree with you about all of what you say. One of the driving forces for myself, both as president of the commission and as supervisor of the town of Rye, is to improve access to the handicap to all public facilities. We applied for a grant last year to do the ramps. We did not get the grant. The cost will be several $100,000. We had an exit conference asking why didn't we get the grant. Debbie, you remember, what exactly did they tell us? That we were very close, they liked the project, and?
Yes, your letter went into our package for our grant application to...
cloud or something? We never heard anything.
Yes, they often refer to Albany that way. Yes. And sadly, we did not get the grant. We did have our post-mortem conference with the director of the Parks Department, who said that had there been one more project awarded, ours would have been it. That we were just the next in line and there wasn't enough money and we didn't get it. And she actively encouraged us to please apply again and pointed out how we might get 1 or 2 more points. But it's a wonderful project and she loved it and was sad that it didn't get funding.
Thank you.
And Linda, thank you so much for your support. Your letter was wonderful.
Are we reapplying?
We are.
Yeah, we are absolutely going to reapply.
We may be reapplying to two different places. I mentioned the meeting we have with county planning to see if we can get community development funds, and we may also be reapplying to the parks to get money from them. You know, they award these things on a point system. There's X amount of dollars involved. Sometimes you just don't know why they award things and don't award things. Speaking personally, we not only had an exit conference for that, we had an exit conference for applications that the town of Rye had applied for and didn't get. And then surprisingly, the town of Rye got a stormwater management grant, which I thought had the least chance of getting approved, and they awarded it to us. So, you know, we keep applying. We do the best we can. We learn from our mistakes. We apply again. These projects are all expensive. Just the roof, for example, on the bathhouse is estimated at over $300,000. The ramps are a couple of $100,000. And all of us as municipal officials are cognizant of the fact that if we don't get a grant, the money has to come from our taxpayers. And frankly, I'm willing to do that if we don't get a grant this time, because I agree with you. The ramps must be done. The beaches must be made accessible for everybody. And it's not just the severely handicapped. You rightly point out, mothers going to the beach with children in carriages need access to the beach. It's hard for them to get down these ramps. And you know, people who are not severely handicapped, perhaps walk with a limp, with a cane, and also, of course, people with wheelchairs. Everybody is entitled to access to the park and to the beach. And we will do everything we can to make that happen. Thank you. Sure.
Hi, I'm Margot Barker. I wondered if you could speak about the parking on the lawn and what progress you have made in deciding what the future will be for that. It's the main reason I'm here. And I also want to add that it's interesting to hear the comments and the discussion about entering the park. The stairs are crumbling and the wheelchair ramps, I guess, don't exist, and there are cars parking on the lawn. So everybody wants to come to this park. It's evident. It's a fantastic place, and I appreciate everything you're doing. But for me, cars on the lawn doesn't make a park. So I hope you can speak to that. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to actually, I want to give it to Debbie on this. Oh, Benny, okay, I didn't see you. Good.
I do speak. Thank you for coming, everyone. A lot of great faces. Just a reminder, we do meet once a month, 12 months a year. Actually, this is twice in 1 month. So thank you all for coming. Parking on the grass was a very contentious issue about 8 years ago, and we formulated, I was on the commission at the time, a ad hoc committee, advisory committee that had stakeholders from the public as well as members of the commission. We had a very vibrant discussion about park as a park, and parking on grass was something that was a concern. We reached a resolution to compromise. What we have in place today is a formulation of that compromise. Months and months of discussion. I'm not sure for those folks that are here present today remember what the parking on the grass looked like, and it was significantly different than what it is today. The compromise that we have today was both economics as well as environmental. Like you said, many people want to come to the park. That whole study that we did looked at the population, who's coming here, time of day, a week, etc. So it's an old problem, but there was a resolution, and this commission worked diligently with the members of the community to reach that resolution. So we can look at it again. I would be in favor of looking at it again, but I just don't want anybody in the public to think that we didn't react to this question in the past. We took a really hard look at it, and I'm happy to say, as a member of this committee, we reached a very good solution. It might not be perfect, it might not make everybody happy, but it was far greater than what we had in the past. That's just a historical comment.
Thanks, Vinny. Debbie, let me just, Debbie, you and I met a parking consultant at a meeting. Do you want to just talk about briefly, I think we're going to invite her to our next meeting to talk about what we can do about parking. She had some ideas, and
this is an idea that in many ways there's very deep roots in the concept of bringing parking technology to our park, which has been a long time in coming, and increasing the ability for people to use electronic means to enter the park, and to, but also how do we use the park? How are the parking flows going? How are we striking our lot? Lord knows it needs to be repaved. These are all issues. We met a parking consultant who's been working with municipalities for decades, who offered her services. We received a proposal from her this week. We have yet to sit down and meet with her. Hopefully we'll be doing that next week. We'll see what her ideas are and present those to the commission and see if that's something that a direction that the commission wishes to go in.
Yeah, the problem with parking is it's a conflict. We don't want to park on the grass. This is a park. But when we have very busy days, we have cars lined up along Forest Avenue trying to get in. We repeatedly have to close the lot because, as the earlier speaker pointed out, this park is very much in demand. People want to come here, and we want that to continue to be. But where do we put them? So as Benny indicated, there was a compromise made. Hopefully, we're going to be talking to the parking consultant about ideas about making our paved areas more efficient in how they're used. Another idea that we're thinking about is the use of shuttle buses, so that people can park off-site and come here, and we're actually, possibly going to apply, maybe with the Village of Rybrook, for a bus as a shared service for the Village of Rybrook to use it for the seniors during the week, and to be available for the park on weekends, and maybe use one of the schools or business parking lots, or to the train station. All of that hasn't been figured out. But these are the ideas that are being formulated so that we can bring people into the park without using as much of the grass as we have been. All in the form of stages, but that's what we're working on. Yes?
Hi, Katie Conversey again. This is a really meaningful issue to myself and many other citizens that are here. So I greatly am thrilled to hear that you're engaging with a parking consultant. I think that's wonderful. I love the ideas of shuttle buses and other things. I would say that I am in favor of doing another study to try to figure out exactly what sort of revenue we need to run this park. And my ultimate goal would be that when the lot is full, the lot is full. And you can park at Playland, or you can park at other places and take a shuttle bus or other things like that. And maybe we figure out a way that for non-residents, we raise the pricing to be a significant amount to cover any overage that we would need to reduce the number of vehicles that enter the lot. And I think hopefully the technology will help in terms of having electronic parking and allowing people to use an app and figure out if there's a space available or there isn't, or what have you. But there must be a better way than parking on the lawn. It's an environmental hazard, it's an eyesore, and this park is really for the community and us residents. So I'm hopeful you'll take that suggestion and that you will take up the study.
Thank you, Katie. Let me just say, we're working on something. Katie's involved in something else. We have a conservancy, correct?
Well, it's in development.
In development. I know. We have a lot of things in development, and Katie is one of the people involved in helping us to develop a conservancy, which is one of the items mentioned in the capstone report. And it'll hopefully be modeled on the Todd Point Conservancy. We had a presentation several months ago from them as to how theirs works. And we're hoping to go forward on all of these fronts. A lot of these ideas are in the germination stage, but as they say, from a little seed a mighty oak does grow. Anybody else? Yes. Introduce yourself.
Steve Otis, State Assemblyman. Great to see you all. I am a regular user of the park, and like many of you, love being here, love all the seasons, and sort of pay attention to all the little things that need to be fixed and whatnot. And I have everyone on the commission has my sympathy. I served on this commission for 12 years, and it is important to do the repairs and things. I'm always looking to help with the park with grant funds where they're available, and help do support letters and whatnot. And the roof on the building, there's a bathroom and other offices is being redone, and part of that will be through a $250,000 grant that I was able to help locate for the commission. The park needs a lot of work. I mean, in terms of long term, my last year on the commission as mayor, we were able to get some grant money and redid the roof of the tower building, the main building. It would be good, and maybe your visioning process will develop ways to do that, is to make better use of that building, maybe make better use of there's a wonderful room upstairs that really is not accessible right now and hasn't been used in years, but there are opportunities here to do more. I wish our new restaurateur good luck. I'm a food person, but I would just say I'm here to help and follow these issues closely and speak to Gary and Josh and Fritz and Paul regularly on things that come up in their communities, but also related to the park. So I'll see you walking around here, and let's hopefully have a good season of weather and a good season of people coming to the park, enjoying this great place. It is a treasure. We're lucky to have it, and we should all stay on top of all the issues that people have raised. So thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Steve has been incredibly helpful in every aspect, and especially, I hate to say it, especially in getting grant funds for the park. We also used to work, obviously, with Senator Latimer, who's now our county executive. Our new state senator, Shelley Mayer, actually her offices will also be in the Grace Church building, right across the hall from our offices at Rye Town. And Steve is just up the ramp from us, so we're in constant communication. And of course, one of the things we always talk about is how we can get more money from the state, because more money from them means we can do more work in the park at less cost to our taxpayers.
Add one thing. I mean, the commission applies for a lot of grants, and as Debbie and Linda talked about the handicap grant, I mean, you should apply for everything that moves, and sometimes you get them and sometimes you don't, and not getting a grant is often a factor of who else is applying in a given year and the scoring system. Not everyone gets grants with every offering. You have to just keep at it, and if you apply a lot, you'll get grants on a pretty regular basis, but it takes some work. And the commission has continued to use the skill of Lisa Easton as an architect for guiding some of these capital projects. Lisa is very good at framing grant applications for some of these things, and that's very important. She brings a lot of expertise to make sure also that the restoration work and the repairs are done according to the standards of these historic buildings. Probably 18 years ago, these two pavilions were restored at the expense of the restaurateur at the time, but Lisa Easton was the architect that made sure they did it right, made sure that it was done consistent with the way the pavilions were originally, and that's an important part of the character of this park, are these beautiful buildings, and that we maintain them well. So again, I'm here to help. Love the park. Love all of you.
Thank you, Steve.
Funky microphone.
And we love you too. Anybody else?
Okay.
Please.
Good morning, Eleanor White, and I live at Water's Edge, and I'm here representing the 76 homeowners who are the neighbors to the park and care very deeply about the park. There are a few other of my neighbors from Water's Edge here with me this morning. My comment brings together the subjects of the parking that we were just discussing, the opportunity with the capstone report to develop a vision for the park. And Commissioner Salanitro, I was among those who, with you, are, I'll call us the surviving members who put together the blueprint, which has so far worked for making a big improvement in the quality of life in the park. My comment here is that it is now high time for us to implement a phase 2. One of the hard truths that we learned when we did that initial research work and blueprint for parking and also bringing more family and community activities and entertainment into the park was that we found that 70% of the people coming in that parking lot gate were from cities and towns that don't pay for this park. Coming from New York City, a very high number. Coming from elsewhere in Westchester, all welcome, but we recognized that we needed to do more to bring the communities who really are the stakeholders in this park, invite them in and let them know they're welcome, that there's plenty to do here, and that they'll find their neighbors here. To make it a friendly place. And we've made much progress in that effort. But the time has come to now look at what we can do more. So I hope, and ardently hope, that part of the work we do again this year is to do another survey to see who's coming in that gate. That's intelligence that will help drive us. I hope that it would find that we've made progress in having a higher percentage of neighbors using the park for any and all purposes, be it beach or park recreation. Let's find out if we've made some progress, because a lot of good has been done. But I'm going to venture to say that much more needs to be done to network through the community organizations and public organizations and private organizations to spread the word about the activities that are happening here. Bill spoke to the great efforts that we do in reaching out through the media and through organizations to let people know what's happening here and let them know how to, the dates, the times, and all the good that's going on here. But much more can be done to reach people in Rybrook, in Rye Neck, and neighboring and Rye, and all of the towns that have their stakeholders and are paying for this park, to bring them in and make sure that they know what's going on and they have a chance to use things. I work with somebody from Rybrook. He has no idea this place exists. So I'm his source of information. So Mayor Rosenberg, signs that are in the center of, every time I pass through the center of Worcester, I see wonderful signs about what's going on at Lions Park and other parks. Never Rytown Park.
I think you're right.
Let's push the boundary here and get the neighbors back in this park. Thank you.
You're very welcome, and I think you're absolutely correct. We need more publicity. And I think I hear a volunteer to do it. I just want to mention one thing in terms of finances. It was mentioned a little earlier about resident, non-resident rates. Non-residents pay considerably more for parking than residents do. And in a year that the park breaks even or makes money, the operating costs of the park are basically supported by non-residents rather than residents. So, it's important that we do two things. We don't want to turn away our non-residents. We want them to enjoy the park, but I agree, we really need to do a bit of a better job in making sure that the people from Rye Neck and Rybrook and Portchester also come here. And also Rye, there are a lot of people from Rye who don't come here. A lot of people, belong to their own clubs, etc. But I'll tell you one thing, none of them have a beach like this, including Playland. So, anybody else? Okay.
Hi, I'm Kirsten Basco, and I use the park very often with my children. And one of the things I've noticed is that there's not a lot of grass left. It's either a lot of dog poop or weeds. So I wonder if there's any plans to do some reseeding. And also, and B, that I feel like in the summer the laws for the dogs are enforced, but during off season there's dogs running around all over, and they're less likely to clean up. And my kids are older, but I feel like sometimes I have to be close to them so they won't get attacked by a dog. So these are the two issues. I wonder if there are any plans. And 4th of July, it's packed. Charge $60 for parking. I mean, let's even just talk about that for non-residents. Yeah, why not? They'll pay it. They'll pay it. Don't charge $20, $25. So it's just one.
Well, that's something the commission has to. Yeah. Well, the commission has to have that.
Let's do it this year. I mean, it's going to be packed. I mean, Dearborn Avenue, everybody begs us to park in our driveway. So it's a good income, right? Good.
There may be a breaking point. There may be a breaking point where they don't come. So we have to.
I don't think so. It's packed. I mean.
I think that, look, you raise an issue, and the fees have to be approved by the commission, so we could talk about that at one of our meetings prior to July 4th.
Thank you. Any plans of reseeding? I mean, can we do that?
I think
the lawn. It's just really. It needs to be repaired.
We have people who do our gardening, so we can talk to them about it.
Okay.
As far as the dog poop, there shouldn't be any. People should be picking up, and it's a violation if they don't.
And then fine them if they don't. I mean, that's the only way you can enforce it, I think.
And you mentioned off-season. Off-season is difficult because we basically don't have staff. We really can't pay a full staff to be on duty when nobody's paying to come into the park.
Right.
So, we do have a skeleton staff for part of that time, but part of that time we don't.
Okay.
So.
All right, thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
This is Linda McKinnon. Just a suggestion, perhaps, in order to get more residents of the towns in. I think a big deterrent is that you don't know that you're going to be able to park here when you get here. So could it be possible to make it resident-only parking until 10 or 11 a.m., allow us to get here, and then open it up to others afterwards? It's just a suggestion. Oh, it's a legal one.
Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Lindsay, you had something?
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Hello, I'm Councilwoman Jackson. And just to add on to the dog portion, because I'm here with my dog all the time and he loves this park. The dog poop has to be cleaned up. And if you take your dog here, please make an effort to do it. Otherwise, we won't have that opportunity anymore. Because obviously it has to be handled.
Obviously, if there are enough complaints, then the commission might have to pass a rule like that.
Exactly, and then dog lovers like myself will lose that opportunity to be here in the park and have that. So, you know, if you do have a dog, please keep that in mind. I also wanted to say that, you know, the Rye Town Board, I know I have my colleague Tom Nardi here, Supervisor Zuckerman. We feel strongly about this park as well. There are infrastructure improvements that have to be made. God forbid we get a terrible storm here. The beautiful roofs that you see are at risk. Everything, I think everyone wants to see an investment in this park. And I just wanted to say that, you know, the Rye Town Board, I believe my colleagues feel the same, and we're here to help. And also to a few comments back, you know, I will be more than happy to reach out to the mayor of the village of Mamaroneck and see what we can do about getting more participation from Rye-Neck residents as well. So, thank you. And I also wanted to thank Mr. Salanitro, because Mr. Salanitro has been on this board for how many years?
Few.
Yes, and it's a thankless job. And I know, you know, he's on board with elected officials, but Mr. Salanitro is here on a volunteer basis. He has a true passion for the park, and he's a wealth of information and knowledge, and thank you for all you do.
Thank you. Let me just say, for those who don't know, I am approached all the time when I say that I'm from the town of Rye or Rybrook. And people look at me like, you know, what's that? We are so broken up. What's the difference between the city of Rye and the town of Rye and Rybrook and Rye-Neck? Well, just shortly, Rye-Neck is in the town of Rye, but part of the village of Mamaroneck. So that's why we asked Mamaroneck for help in things as well. And Benny is the Rye-Neck representative to the Park Commission. So thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Diana Page. I just had a quick question or maybe suggestion about the possibility of food trucks, especially since we're without a restaurant right now. Both as I think the community would be excited about an easy way to sample different kinds of food or buy food while they're here. And also it could be revenue generating for the park to sell permits. And so I wanted to present that idea, see if you've considered it or if you would consider it.
I think that may be a problem with that if we have a restaurant operating, because that
How about until the restaurant?
Well, that's something that could be considered. I don't know what their schedule. They may be operating in a few weeks if they don't need to do too much work to, for example, get at least hamburgers and hot dogs going as opposed to a full menu. I don't know that. And of course, then the city of Rye has an ordinance prohibiting food trucks, which they would have to waive, as they do for, I guess, once a year you have a food truck kind of festival.
Yes, we do have a food truck festival, and it would be City of Rye permitted.
Okay. All right, thank you.
I can just speak to the dog stuff a little bit. My name's Suki Van Dyke. Anybody who sees anybody who isn't paying attention to their dog when they're pooping, please tell them. I mean, we walk around here every day, so we're the ones more likely than anybody to step in it. And you know, I put up please on Facebook regularly. This is our, you know, our number one thing as dog owners is you've got to make sure that your dogs are safe, and you've got to make sure you clean up after them. And so, you know, we do know who some of the people who tend not to pick up are. They're here more on the weekend than during the week. But anybody walking in the park who sees anybody, please point it out to them. We're trying. Thanks.
Let me just one quick comment on that. The dogs are not allowed on the beach at any time. They are allowed on the beach at Playland. And I've spoken to the assistant commissioner in charge of that, and he rues the day that they allowed that, believe me. So we don't have dogs on the beach. We do have dogs on the park.
Except service dogs.
Mayor Flanagan.
Except service.
Mayor. Mayor Flanagan.
Well, you had something first.
No, I'm just going back to Portchester. It's cleanup day at our dog park. They're picking up poop. So have a good day.
Thank you. Thank you, Fritz.
Just real briefly about the parking situation. Most of you know me. Been involved with various aspects of the park for many years now. And I do want to echo Benny's, or Commissioner Salamiccio, excuse me, his recap of what happened years ago. And to his point, it is dramatically improved. Because parking was just willy-nilly all over the place. There was no accounting for anything, and it was not only was it it was a safety issue to say the least. But going forward, to Ms. White's point is that I think it's really high time to revisit it. It's the fact that this park has to earn its own operating, its operating budget, and it's all based on, it's primarily based on parking, but of course a major contribution from the, from the concessionaire at the restaurant. But it really compromises the overall integrity of the park when we have cars parked all the way up to the top of the hill there, and again, it seems like the community, the municipalities, Portchester and Rybrook and City of Rye, you don't really have any skin in the game, if I could say that, right? As long as the park operates at break even or surplus, they don't have to contribute anything, correct?
Operating.
Right, they don't have to contribute anything. Of course, if the park runs a deficit, then they do have to contribute.
That is correct.
Right, so the idea that you think that we can, we have resident status here. We're taxpayers in this community, but yet our governments don't really have any skin in the game.
Well, that's not exactly true, because some of the expense is capital. Any capital expense we treat separately, and the City of Rye and the Town of Rye contribute to all capital expense regardless of the operating costs.
I understand, but we haven't really moved forward on many of those capital projects now, have we?
We have capital expenses every year, and
but most of the time we're looking to fund those through grants and
no, we
like
have
that.
ordinary capital expenses. For example, even small things such as last year we bought the new golf cart,
right,
for $10,000, and if we do, for example, we're doing the IT infrastructure. That's going to cost probably 45 or 50.
Yeah, but that money's going to come out of the.
That's all capital.
But it's coming out of surplus.
No. It comes out of the capital. Let me explain. For people who don't understand, what we do is, at the end of the year, after our books are audited, the commission sends a separate bill to the City of Rye and to the Town of Rye. Even though it sounds silly, I send a bill to myself.
I understand that part.
and then that's for the capital contribution. So that gets reimbursed. And that puts in the capital fund. So as Commissioner Salamiccio pointed out at the last meeting, this is coming out of capital, but that will be reimbursed so that we have money. So you're correct in terms of the operating account, but we do have capital expenses every year. Even though I'd love to see, some of the larger ones, like the roof of the,
Sure, I understand.
The bathhouse.
All our governments have their limitations of what they can contribute.
Yes, we still have capital expenses that we pay for, and we hope that we have an operating surplus, so we don't have to dip into, our own, the City of Rye and the Town of Rye operating expenses that we have to make a contribution for.
Understood. Just getting to my initial concern was that yes, we made a lot of progress, but that was, I think, as many accurately stated, it was 8 to 10 years ago. And to Eleanor's point, it's time to take another look and see if we can start moving that line down the hill. I think it would be to the benefit of everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Russ.
Sorry, I had one more expenditure question in terms of what we do at the park, because in addition to being here in the morning with the dogs, I usually come back a couple of times a day because I live around the corner. And one of the things that we've noticed a lot, especially during the school year in this kind of shoulder season for the park, is that we've got a lot of people, not the landscapers, but you've got a lot of security around the park. And there'll often be 6 security people and 4 people in the park, while the kids are in school. Have we looked at staffing in ways that can be a little more flexible? I mean, I understand it might be hard to hire people if you can't give them that number of hours, but it does seem kind of silly to have,
You put your finger on it, and that's Lawrence?
Hey, Lawrence.
No, so staffing expenses are all being looked into. It's my first year, and I am, trusting all my management and the offices to kind of show me what's been done in the past, and it's going to be my job to see what needs to be changed. So I am taking a very close look at all of our management department budgets to make sure we are staffing accordingly, so we don't have a situation where we have more staff than people. And nor do I want the opposite, not having enough staff. But we also have to be fair to our staff that we are not constantly changing their schedules based on the number of people. Obviously, if it's a rainy day, we're going to pull some people back. If it's going to be a busy day, we'll have more people. But that's all going to be evaluated constantly by myself and my department heads and make adjustments when necessary. But we also, like I said, we have to balance the needs of the park and the needs of people who are going to work and expect a living. And, but it's going to be managed efficiently.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lawrence. Anybody else?
So if I can just add to my question before, I think everyone noticed what I was talking about before was, a suggestion I made to Emily and some others in the crowd at the Pumpkin Days about doing something for the holidays in the park, doing tree lighting, Christmas carols. If we have enough snow, maybe sort of a sleigh ride for the kids and families. I'm not sure if that's something that's done by this committee or if there would be a separate committee that would be set up to arrange that, and where the financing and funding for that would come from, whether it be from the budget of the park or the town, or whether it be from some fundraising efforts. But if there is a committee, I'd certainly like to be on it for that, and I could, I'll make a commitment myself to help fund part of that and help in some of the fundraising as well.
That's great. That's wonderful. Thank you.
Would it be a separate committee, or would it be?
We could set that up. Right now, we do it with park staff. It's Bill and Sarah, and I'm sure she would be happy to work with the committee. And anybody who wants to volunteer, get in touch with Sarah and Bill, and if you approach them, they will give you their email and phone, and you can exchange with them. And listen, the more ideas, the better. This park should be operating almost, well, we can't operate at night because the neighbors across the way wouldn't like that. But almost, if not 24/7, at least maybe 14/7, that we can have activities all the time. This park is for the people, and that's what we want to make sure that that happens. Anybody else? If not, I want to thank everybody for coming. I thought this was a great meeting. A lot of ideas came out of it, especially for the commissioners to think about. I want to thank you again for coming here, for participating. All of our meetings are on the web. All of our meeting minutes are on the web. And we hope you come here.
Like us on Facebook.
And Facebook.
Right on board.
Right. All those things. So thank you all for